Welcome, everybody, to Jack's Treasures and What Not Another Reselling Podcast. Our show is about the live side of reselling, no edits, no fillers, no fluff. We keep it raw, real, and uncut. No sugarcoating, just honest conversations and the real truth about live selling.
Right. Today's topic is how to grow your brand of reselling on multiple platforms. So we're going to be talking a little bit about multiple platforms and growing your brands. And we got a great guest today. Our guest today is Jeremy from Greenthirteen. He's an established volume seller, guys, soon to be YouTube influencer and a mentor to many of the top sellers on Whatnot. And if you don't believe me, Jeremy, which you may not, but Noah Baller actually gave you a ton of credit when we were interviewing him on the podcast. Yes. Also. He's host to one of the most popular Sunday morning chat shows called Random Rambling. And I was on there this week, and he had, and I want you guys to listen to me very carefully, 150 plus people were in the room. He wasn't selling anything. He wasn't giving anything away. He wasn't doing anything but talking. And 150 people were in there listening and trying to absorb as much as they possibly can, including myself. We're thrilled to have him back. He is back for the second time. Jeremy, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself very quickly, my friend.
I can do that quick. My name's Jeremy, and I am Greenthirteen. And
he's the most modest one. He does. When I tell you he sells on Whatnot, guys, if you pop on Whatnot at any given time during the day, I guarantee you're going to see Greenthirteen on there just about. Okay. I know that one of the things that we had talked about the last time that I had him on is he is gearing towards, was it 24 hours or 12 hours? I don't remember exactly which one that he said, but he said that that's one of his plans for the upcoming year. Well, Jeremy, we got a question for you just to start off right at the very beginning to break the ice a little bit. And that is, what is the funniest, most unexpected thing that has ever happened to you on a Random Rambling show?
The funniest, most unexpected thing on Random Rambling?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough one because it's Sunday morning. There's not a whole lot that's funny or not too terribly much. I can tell you the most irritating thing is my cat's getting in the way all the time. Okay. Think that's but I'm sorry, but I'm drawing a blank that nothing really comes up as because I'm too serious. I think when I'm talking on that, I enjoy it a lot. So, but yeah, the cat's probably deciding to involve themselves, whether I want them to or not, is probably
You do have
an interesting
reoccurring
instance. That's it's not one moment, but it's just a common thread almost every single Sunday.
How are your cats? I think one of the times when we were talking, one of them might have been sick or something.
That was probably T the last time we were talking, the shop cat.
Okay.
The warehouse cat who, that's an unfortunate event that happened there with that one. We had to make some comfort of life decision on that. We'll keep it at that.
Sorry to hear that.
We had to do it a lot. Not last year, but the year before that, we had to do it like 4 times.
Old age.
She was our warehouse cat that we adopted. I brought her in off the street, and unfortunately, somebody else ditched her because she was sicker than we would have ever imagined. So, but but my cat's here at the house. They're
that's good.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. Healthy as an ox, knock on wood, as long as I can find some here. Oh, good. I have a nice log over here to knock on. Yeah.
There you go. Pennsylvania. Just got a log laying around
I actually do. I got a chunk of wood. That's a log. That's it right here.
This is our Real Talk Q&A section where we ask the tough questions to our guests and hopefully gain some knowledge.
Yeah.
First of all, what pulled you into reselling and how did that journey eventually lead you to Whatnot?
Yeah. For those of you who didn't watch the last episode or the last podcast we have Jeremy
on. Well, reselling has been part of my family from essentially from day one. My grandfather was an auctioneer. I worked for him off and on throughout my youth. My mom was a flea marketer. I call them third merchants. So, don't take any offense. I was one too. I went to flea markets and used to sell and stuff. But I was not really involved a ton in it. I would say in my 20s or so. I ended up in the mortgage industry. If anybody knows what happened in 2008-ish,
Oh,
the
not
mortgage
good.
Yeah.
Not
industry
good.
put me in a situation where I was literally owned a home but homeless. Long story short, as a result, the results of necessity, my current business partner Shane was selling stuff on eBay, and it would seem like the fastest way to try to start making some money to do something. And then we did, and things worked out. And then eventually, as far as Whatnot goes, that was just kind of a pure chance thing when we were out sourcing for our holiday rush when we used to do retail
Mhm.
arbitrage on Amazon. We ran into somebody
Right.
that said, "Hey, you might want to check this out," because we were looking at Funko Pops, and apparently, well, not apparently, Whatnot was founded on Funko
Yep.
Pops.
Right.
So,
Right.
and then it probably was almost 6-8 months after that interaction happened that we ended up testing Whatnot out, just because we were, you're dealing with pandemic era issues with small businesses. And
Right.
it was kind of like, what are we going to do? We're trying everything under the sun that we could think of, all the, this reseller apps that were out there that were the static listings, all that kind of stuff. And we ran into Whatnot, and luckily got our fingers in there solidly, nice grip in
Mhm.
there as far as momentum, and and then here we are. So
Yeah. And when he says here we are, he could be a premier seller if he wanted to. The only thing is that some of those rules on there weren't there. But I'm telling you, I think he could literally hold up a used roll of toilet paper and it would sell for about $40, just because people want something from Greenthirteen. I've seen some of the stuff. It's amazing. Take us back to that very first live show that you did, and what were you selling, and what do you remember most about how it went? I think I know the story a little bit.
well, the very first show we did, we got on in the comic book category, because that's what, again, we were just trying to figure things out. When you go on, Whatnot shows you what they want to show you. Back then,
Hmm.
the categories I'm in right now didn't really exist or have any influence and whatnot, but comic books did. And my business partner's passion has a passion for comics. We had comics, we buy and sell them. So he signed up, and we decided to go try the comic book world, and it was a colossal failure. I mean, we made all the same mistakes I think a lot of people did earlier on.
Hmm.
We went on, one of the assumptions is, oh, I got to constantly be talking. The nice thing is we had three. There was me, there was Shane, and my brother was there, just because he was intrigued
Mhm.
by the platform.
Right.
So, it was just, one of those delightful disaster situations, because, we learned a lot from it. Tried selling things that felt like they should be worth money, that, 80 and $100 comic books selling for like $3 and $5, all the
Oh my
same
gosh.
things that everyone, you know, um, uh, and yeah, that from my recollection, that's pretty much all there was. The second one was, we quickly tried doing a couple of strategies for our second one, where we try to do choice on the books, you know, and it's interesting. It's funny. I'm glad you asked the question, trying to think back in comparison.
Hmm.
Like, we have that entire huge warehouse we work out of, but we decided to attempt to set up our sales environment inside a little tiny office space that we have, instead of just
Hmm. Yeah.
using the big, huge warehouse for big open space. But yeah, we did a bunch of, it was just one mistake after another. It's, pretty common with
With
this
comic books,
environment.
do you remember that people used to do mystery picks with comics, and they would put like one banger comic book in a padded mailer, a padded mailer, and then they would have like 20 padded mailers. I remember going into some shows like that, and I'm just watching and I'm going, how are they getting all of these prices? Because I ran 3 comic book shows myself, and this was after I had been more of an established seller. I sold 3 books in all 3 shows. Like, one I sold one, 2 I sold one, and 1 I
Yeah.
sold one. And I'm like, yeah, no, no more for me.
Nah, I'm sure if we would have decided to stay at it with the comic books, it would have been fine and
Hmm.
dandy over the long term. But I do remember what you're talking about. But as you know, that's nothing I had ever had any interest in, like the
Oh yeah, yeah.
gamification principles.
Mhm.
So, but you know, we tried that. The whole commerce thing, it didn't work out too well, and we decided to, well, not decided. I was just intrigued by the platform itself. I recognized almost immediately that the opportunity to be able to sell a lot of merchandise very quickly was to be had
Mhm.
on the Whatnot platform. So I just started doing some digging, and that turned us over to the estate sale category, which is pretty much all
Yeah.
it was called at the time. You got to remember too, though, back then, when we very first started for the first month, it was still, you know, you you sell one item, their customer paid shipping, and then every item after that was $1, no matter what, and we didn't have to pay
Right.
any
Yeah.
overages. So
Mhm.
you know, the world was different. Comic books, we could have did all kinds of crazy stuff if we would have spent the time to think about it, but instead it worked out in the estate sale category. So
Yeah. Used to do something called sell this house. Was
pick
that what it
this old
was?
house.
Pick this old house. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
really want to run down on the fact that we've been on for almost 5 years, but pick this old house was our springboard to success on Whatnot. We
Mhm.
went into the state category, and we're talking. This was 2 months after we started, so almost 4.5 years ago. We did this where we went into somebody's house. Opportunity came up to go into a house and
Mhm.
live pick through it. Like we just got to go in and go live and sell stuff out of it. You have to understand, like that's common practice now, on
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatnot and
Oh
other
yeah.
put yourself in a situation where if you've never experienced that, that's what we got to
Hmm.
provide. That's why we
Mhm.
went from having nobody to 100 plus people in our rooms on a consistent basis in the matter of less than 2 months time on here,
Yeah.
because we did that. And yeah, I mean that, and there's no exaggeration when you talk about holding up a piece, a toilet paper roll and being able to sell it. Well, in
Yeah.
that environment, there was no question they bought anything we put on, even to the point where I told people, literally told people, it's a mold infested, wet. I'm not even exaggerating. A
Yeah.
wet, stuffed animal, and we're like, I'm not running that, and they were like, run it, and they bought it. So
Wow.
I think I remember you telling the story about somebody wanting a piece of tile off of the floor.
I mean, it's one of those things where yes,
That's
everything.
That's
insane.
We could have sold everything. We were selling old green stamps that were, it was nuts. So,
that's great. I love hearing that
That
though.
is
I really do.
awesome.
but
It's good.
again, that is one of the things that I always like to stress that people put in perspective is that like some of these larger sellers like us, we got to where we are because we were on so early and could
Hmm.
capitalize on the newness, the
Mhm.
fresh experience to everybody, which a lot of people don't have that now. That's not really an option for them because again, people going into houses or live shopping and stuff is pretty common practice on this platform now, or on
Yeah,
Whatnot.
very much so. Very much so.
Well,
So
kind of changing topics here. From your experience, how does the energy and buyer behavior on eBay Live differ from that on Whatnot?
Yeah, and how many shows did you do on eBay Live?
okay, we did some just a couple of handful of shows. Now, the unfortunate for me to be able to give you an accurate assessment on there, it's not really going to be. I don't have the ability to do that because when we went over there,
Hmm.
I laid the breadcrumbs, or as I say, chunks of loaves to everybody without violating terms of service
Right.
on Whatnot, that we were going to be doing this. Okay, so it wasn't too hard for anybody to find out. So all of our buyers were just from Whatnot.
Oh,
I
Now,
got you.
okay.
uh, we only did a few because the mechanics of it, the way it works does not fit in with our volume based sales principles that we have grown upon in Whatnot.
Hmm.
The fact that you
Mhm.
need two devices, it is just way too slow, clunky, cumbersome. If you thought the shipping on Whatnot was a pain in the butt,
Mhm.
over there it's really confusing because they try to link all you, if you have static listings with your account for live, they should really have it separated in order to make it
See,
a
that's
little more
how we feel a lot about trying to
streamlined.
sell in the district.
Yeah, yeah. We've done a handful of shows on the district,
So did
and
I.
what you just said was literally what we felt. It's
Yeah.
like clunky. It was hard to run off of two, because we did have to, and we use two devices anyway.
Mhm.
When Tracy and I run our shows on Whatnot, Tracy's sitting on a corner and she has her computer, and I'm in front of the screen. I never run the show. I never run, and I don't think I have, like, I probably run like 10 items in a year. Tracy runs them all over there, but on that one, she pins them up, and then I have to run it from
Yeah.
the phone
And
that I'm using, and it was like,
it's
oh my
not quite
god.
exactly like that, but it has the same clunky
Yeah.
aspects to it, where you can't,
Mhm.
you don't realize. And one of the things, if any other platform ever listens to this, you need an environment that's a run next environment. You can't have
Mhm.
this
Right.
where, because, and to be able to function entirely on one device has to be
Mm-hmm.
available if you're going to be successful.
Exactly.
You can't
Yeah.
have a dual device required environment. Like, it's nice for the people that want to have two different devices, or they use
Yeah.
certain software applications or whatever in order to, create an environment that they're after, that requires it to have two, three, or even multiple devices. But you have to be
Mhm.
able to have it function with one device without a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you going to say something?
No, I was just agreeing 100%.
Before we go on, I do want you to explain to me what a volume seller is, as opposed to, and I know that I'm not, okay, as opposed to another seller. What is a volume seller?
Well, to me, volume seller, I mean, it is kind of in perspective as well. I mean, volume is always just increasing the amount you can sell. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, volume is always trying to get to more and more items that you can sell on a regular basis at a very, very short period of time, limiting your hold time, your storage resources, your financial resources. Your money's always tied up when you have slow sales principles built into your system.
Mm-hmm.
And volume is just the opposite of all that. And I'm sure you heard me talk about, as far as volume is concerned, especially in these environments with Whatnot, it just brings so many different opportunities to you that other platforms can't give you. And
Right.
volume takes care of so many problems as well. Sourcing problems go away with when you're dealing with volume. One of the things I think people really frequently misunderstand or don't pay attention to, because one of the biggest questions I have on a regular basis in my chat show you talked about is
Mm-hmm.
sourcing. We can't find enough stuff, can't get enough stuff. And that's because of the principles of your sales style and what kind of margins you're looking for. Volume allows you to slim margins, thereby allowing you to open up a window to more items for purchase,
Mm-hmm.
which then that solves a lot of your those problems. I also talked about volume helps you with things like feedback or like negative associations to your account, because when you're
Mm-hmm.
small and you have one or two negative attributes to your account, it's a large percentage. Because me
Yeah.
personally, I don't think these companies should be utilizing percentages, because that's not a fair metric, if that makes sense to
You're
you.
right.
But
Yeah.
the
Definitely.
reality of the situation is that's what they use. They use percentages, whether you like it or not. So when you're a volume seller,
Right.
the few problems you do have, don't affect you. And it also gives you a truer sense of that seller if they're a volume seller. Because if they have good metrics, like when
Mm-hmm.
you when I say metrics, I'm talking about their feedback and all their health accounts and
Right.
metrics, you know that, that's their core business, the way they operate, because if you're a volume seller and you have subpar metrics, you're really doing something, kind of, you have some problems in your systems that you need to fix.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
I agree. I agree.
essentially, it's hard for me to really, I can tell you what it means to me, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the rotation of value that gives you more money by the end of any given time period.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that I'm focusing more, for me, what volume means, I'm focusing more on the amount I make per sale, not the percentage I'm making on a sale. Does that make sense?
I'm going to say that one more time.
Okay. So when you're dealing with volume, I'm looking for the amount of dollars. Okay. I'm looking to make X amount of dollars per sale instead of a percentage per sale. So if I'm buying something that's $25, I don't care if I make the same $5 off that as I do if I buy something for $5. Hypothetically, let's say I'm looking for $5 per unit sold instead of a percentage. So many people ask, well, what markup are you looking for? That's not my interest. When you're volume seller, you're interested in how much you're making per item sold. And that's what I mean by allowing you to have so much more merchandise available to you. If I can go and buy $125 items and make $5 a piece off of those, the same as I could go and buy $105 items and make $5 off of it. I don't care about the markup, because anytime you sell, whether it's a $5 item or a $25 item, for the say your argument, for I know there's some bidding time involved, but it pretty much takes you the same amount of time to sell that.
Right.
So you're making the same amount per item, resource allocation to that item as well. And volume, because you're selling it so fast, you recapitalize. So even if you're buying something for $25 and only making $5, it doesn't matter, because you're selling it so fast that the money's coming back in to do it again. So whether you're buying $1, $5, $10, $25, $50 items, I don't care if I make the same amount per item.
Right.
Where a lot of people's focus is, I want this percentage markup. And when you're a volume seller, you can't get stuck in that. Your percentage markup will kill you, because if you buy a $25 item, then you feel like you're losing money if you don't sell it for $50, if you're 100% markup. If you buy a $5, you want to sell it for 10, so on and so forth. A lot harder to do. Then you get stagnant inventory, you get locked up capital, so on and so forth. It just goes on and on. Your resources just get locked up, and then you end up not being able to do anything, and you're stuck with a bunch of inventory. And I can guarantee you that is the story of so many people, because they're focused on the percentage markup instead of the knockdown price per item sold.
That makes a lot of sense right there. And I'm actually glad I asked that. That wasn't a question that we had written down, but I guess I should have written it down, because there are different types of sellings, even on this on Whatnot and eBay Live District, any of the live selling platforms. There's different types of sellers that are on there. You have pallet sellers that are volume type sellers. You have other sellers that are single item sellers. They know that they're concentrating on that margin of that one item. For us, we're sort of like in that middle, where we buy storage units. So whatever we get into those storage units, that's what we're going to be bringing to Whatnot. Right now, if you look behind us, I got 350 cookbooks right back over here. So if I sat there and I tried to say, well, I want to make sure that I make a certain margin on each one of these cookbooks, I would drive myself crazy. And I know some of these have value if I wanted to put them up on a static listing and let them sit. I'm doing a volume type of a thing and just saying, you know what? I'm going to start them off at $2 a piece. They sell great. They don't great. $2. If they sell for $2, I make a little bit of money on it, but I don't have hardly anything in them now. Because my buy cost for the storage unit is already done. It's already taken care of. So I just love that explanation.
On a side note, I like the Freudian slip of stagnant paralleling static. You actually said stagnant listing.
Don't they call that a Freudian slip?
That's what I just said. I like the you accidentally.
Well, it's because you said a couple of terms that I use, but I use different terms. I call it dead stock. And we had a problem when we were just static sellers of so much dead stock. And I was horrible with it, because on eBay, my store was a Walmart. I had 10,000 listings up there. I was selling, 15, 20 items a day and making about $65. On the other hand, she's got like 2,000 items up. She's selling 2 or 3 items, and she's averaging about $500 a day. And so I had so much dead stock, we had nothing to do with it, as what you were talking about. We ended up being able to find a consignment store that would take that stock from us, give us store credit, and I would be able to go into that store and shop the store for items that I knew I could flip, which was video games and video game consoles and stuff. And so I was able to do that. So there is a way to get out from any of these traps. And I learned a lot of how to get out of some of these from Jeremy. Where am I at right here?
Number 4.
Oh my gosh, we're on number 4 at 25 minutes. Holy shit. Okay, here we go. What features or tools on each one of the platforms have the biggest impact on how you run your live show? And I think you pretty much said that, but
which of the tools on any of the platforms?
Yeah.
Well, since 95% of my business is through Whatnot, I mean, that's pretty much where, the tools that I utilize on there is and I don't know, I guess I would want to maybe a more of a definition of what you mean by tools, but
so
after we're done
shows,
talking, after we were done talking about my basis of comparison with the other platforms, that freaking run next button technically is the I hit that more than I do anything else.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and that's something that's a good thing. I want to tell everybody one thing right now. Jeremy is not talking based on shit he has not done. Okay. When Jeremy talks about how giveaways are not the way to go or not something to do, he's not doing that based on his perceived opinion. He does research. He's done 3 shows, because this is going to be coming out after your Friday show. He's done 3 shows on Friday of giving away stuff in the shows. Then he takes his analytics and breaks his analytics down and then proves it to everybody that, hey, this is it. These are the numbers right here. Look, I am showing you. Yeah, it looks great. I got 300, 400 people in the room. Yes, this stuff is going for all of that stuff. Now let's figuring all of the other stuff and see what ended up happening. And I think you said on the last show you actually lost money.
Well, the amount of money I got from the previous went down, but you can see a dramatic trending line. But it's not the first time. But one of the I don't know if you were in when I talked about my 4 basic pillars that I've established throughout the last 4.5 years of selling on Whatnot. It's nothing that I sat down and made this plan for. It's just something that I've now, in hindsight, been able to observe that following these things is what has led me to, repeated success on here. And one of them, the last of them, is experimentation. So I've experimented with giveaway versus what dollars start, all that kind of stuff in the past. But things change. Whatnot changes. The way people perceive things, the entire environment on these type of platforms, especially at the speed of everyone consumes information, and everyone's minds changes so quickly. You have to test it again. And I'm sure I've come to realize a certain aspect again with the giveaways, very similar, not too dissimilar to a time before, but I'll probably try it again in some time, maybe another year or 2 or something. And the reason I got to say that is because my first experiments with free shipping were not promising. But
I remember that.
Until I decided, okay, I need to take a more divergent perspective on this, look at it a little bit differently, and apply it differently, it became very, very beneficial to us. Extremely beneficial. Yep. So
I keep trying
it with giveaways. I keep trying to find out if there's some beneficial, way to utilize. And when I say giveaways, to put in perspective, as you know, I'm talking about the mechanical, actual built-in tool that Whatnot provides for giveaways. I give plenty of stuff away. So let's not, we know that. I've done the dollar drop things. The real dollar drops that I do, where I dropped the Rolex watch for $1. I did do that official where we gave away $10,000 in gold to
I remember that,
to our members and stuff. So we do them. It's just very different.
Yeah, he's talking about giveaways that a lot of people, they call them givey goblins on Whatnot, that people are under the impression, and it's probably true, I have no idea, I always use air quotes when I say this, but they always say that if you're running a giveaway, that the the algorithm will push you up and things like that. So there's a lot of people that feel like they have to do giveaways, they have to do that. I'm going to tell you something. If you ever want to get the real scoop on it, check out Random Ramblings on Sundays at 8 o'clock.
Listen, just come visit my shows. Not to be, to come off as arrogant or anything like that, but we built our entire company on this platform almost from day one, not doing giveaways. We utilize giveaways as a utility back at the beginning when you couldn't run things while the giveaway was going. So you'd put up a giveaway if you needed to take a break from selling or something like that.
Right.
So the entire show would stop, and you would do that just to keep people, content and happy. And then after that went away, there was no reason for us to run giveaways because of the built-in expectation that even if you're running a giveaway, you need to be selling something.
Right.
So that completely wiped out our utility purpose for a giveaway. So we just didn't do it. And our average room count, I would say at this particular point in time is probably 150, between 150 and 160 people on any given show. And that's without doing any giveaways. So, if anybody that's listening, you don't need to, it's not a fundamental principle that will get you what everyone thinks is going to get you. The giveaway. The giveaways, like you were talking about, the algorithm, it's not the algorithm liking the giveaways. The algorithm likes the activity that it potentially generates. And that when you talk about Givey Goblins, you have a bunch of people in your room as a result of the Givey Goblins, you get some activity. But if you focus on that, the activities that result in that, you're going to get the same results. In other words, if you're going to make sure you figure out how to engage with your customers, like I always talk about, my business model is buyer centric. That's another one of my pillars. I run a buyer centric philosophy in everything I sell. So the people are happy, they're engaging, they're talking, and that's all the stuff that the algorithm wants to know. Not to mention, you've heard me talk about this. I'll get you a real big secret. It should not be any surprise. Whatnot likes to make money. So if you're doing things that Whatnot can make money off of, and guess what that is? That's selling stuff. And if the second best thing to selling is running stuff. So if you're running stuff, again, volume. You're running stuff constantly, increases the odds of you selling something. The two most linchpin things that Whatnot wants to be happening. So do you think they're going to push you up in the algorithm if you're doing that? I absolutely believe that that's the case, as opposed to giveaways. So
ABS. ABS right there. I actually literally have used that in some of my own shows that I have been able to do that. Well, here's a great question to go along with what you have been talking about with margins and stuff. At one point, did you realize that scale voluming rather than chasing higher margins was a real growth level for you?
Are you asking when I realized that, or?
Yeah.
No. I've always understood the principle behind the aspect of that happening. It was only, when is the tool going to be provided for me to do that? For a while, that was Amazon. For a while, we were selling on Amazon, and that allowed us to sell in pretty high volume with lower margin requirements. But yeah, that became an entirely different problem, that with the returns, and that changed drastically, just like Whatnot's changing. That's why I always tell people, if you're going to get into Whatnot, do it now, because it's only going to get harder every single day you move forward. So it's a principle I understood from early ages. I've always been interested in business, and I always understood the velocity of money principles, compounded interest and all that. You can take a little bit, and as long as you're turning it over, reapplying the money back into the system over and over again, and it compounds, the fastest way to get money to compound is to keep churning it over and over again. When it comes to sales, that is. Not investing is a different, different thing. So if you're looking at it, one of the other perspectives I have on this whole thing that we're talking about here with velocity, with the velocity of selling, or volume selling, look at it from that standpoint. People refer to people as investors or traders, right? I would call somebody that is buying things and trying to make huge margins, they're more of an investor. They're more of somebody that's buying their product to turn around and sell it at the optimum price at the opportune time.
Right.
A trader is in and out. They want to make a small amount of money very quickly. So if you want to parallel it to like a stock, investments mindset, there you go. I mean, that's another way to look at volume selling in comparison to the static listing or the high margin selling principles.
That is awesome. I'm telling you, this is a great episode.
Oh,
I might almost have to
absolutely.
break it into two. Okay.
You want?
No, I'm telling you right now, and I have said this about our podcast almost all of the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people they said, hey, well, thanks for having me. You're doing so much great for the community. I said, you don't understand. I have my guests on because I learned something from every single one of them.
Yeah.
And I want to do that, whether they're a big seller or a small seller or medium seller, or even just somebody that's on Whatnot or on YouTube, because our next guest is just a YouTuber. But I want to learn something from every single person that we have on. And that's to me, it's one of the biggest things, because literally these questions, and I told you that I used AI to clean up the questions, but they're questions that I wanted to know the answer to. And also, I do know some of these answers that you're explaining, but I want the people that are watching to say, holy shit, man, this guy knows what he's talking about. I should really tune in and check him out. Now, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about you.
And we do have a few people that literally do watch our podcast every week.
Yeah.
And they are smaller Whatnot sellers. And I think they're going to get a lot out of this. So you're doing a lot of good for a lot of people.
I think so.
Listen, if I didn't think it was going to be helpful in, in some way, shape, or form, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be here chatting.
Yeah, he doesn't do it out of the goodness of his heart. I'll tell you that right now.
That's actually not true. I already told you. My entire chat show.
I'm
said it. I know, but I've said it a million times. I do the chat show because I enjoy that.
Yeah, very, very much so. And it is part. And I asked you the question this past Sunday about branding and doing those community shows, because I've seen so many people that are doing it. And I'm in there and I look and I go, dude, you should not be doing this. You are not benefiting. You're giving out some very, very bad advice. You're not correct in some of the things that you're saying. And I'm not trying to say that I'm a perfect seller, because I'm not. And I don't do a lot of the research that Jeremy talks about. But that's why I was asking that question, because of the fact that, one, you have a great engagement on there, and I see all of these people doing it, but you had 150 people in that room. And as I said earlier, you weren't selling nothing. So, I mean, there are people that, me included, have not had 150 people in his own show, like minus
it was like a
rate
train or something.
that I was on a big rate train, I have built up to 150 people in a show myself. So I'm sitting in there looking at yours going, what the hell am I doing wrong here? But and that's why I keep doing all of those types of things. But we got to keep going, because otherwise we're going to be on here for 2.5 hours.
Hey, then you can split it into two.
Yeah.
How critical has consistency in your schedule, pricing, and show format been to building momentum?
How
critical has consistency in your schedule, pricing, and show format been to building momentum?
I can tell you were listening to me to form that question somewhere along the road, because
that was AI, not me. That was AI completely. Okay, I had a question in there I had something in there. Something in there. No commas in there, nothing.
Listen, consistency is key. I don't agree with lots and lots of the stuff that Whatnot tells sellers to do to be successful, because it's the same, in my opinion, misguided information. Okay, it's too closely it's taking the wrong parallels into a brand new. It's almost like they don't realize their own, what they have in their hands, how unique and how different it is in comparison to other stuff. But I also understand from a messaging standpoint, you have to parallel it to something people understand. So it's kind of one of those, things you need to do, but it's unfortunate you have to do it, because it's not really the right thing to be doing with the way this is. And That's a long way of me telling you the one thing they do tell you is consistency. Okay.
Right.
Consistency is 100%, consistency in the days you're on, okay? The way you sell. And I talk about experimentation, but my experimentation has become a consistent part. And as long as the people that are coming along with the ride or the story with you through the building of your brand on whatnot, you keep everything consistent. And whenever you're going to do any type of change, you make that known to them ahead of time, and that becomes part of your consistency. And your followers, your buyers, not will absolutely love you for it because they are part of that, building of your entire business. But that's not going to happen without consistency. Not to mention, everybody loves reliability in other people. All the, that's a huge thing. And if you're reliably on, which is being consistent, I can tell you, and you guys know this, whatnot doesn't always work the way you want it to work. They don't send out, everybody that follows you doesn't get any information. Anybody that bookmarks your shows doesn't get any information or alerts. Very few of them get that. The only people that get those are the people whatnot thinks. What whatnot thinks, not what you think or what they think, is what whatnot thinks you're going to do to make them more money. So the one way you can guarantee that people are going to show up and be happy with what you have to offer is consistency across the board.
Right.
If that makes sense. If you're on at the exact
perfect.
same time, I have people that set their alarm at this point for my shows. They know because they know whatnot's not gonna be reliable in getting them to my show. They have to be reliable to get to my show themselves. They have to do something to make it happen. And the only way that can happen is if you're consistent. So, I mean, consistency is key across. I don't think there's a situation where I don't think, that isn't beneficial when it comes to live selling. I mean, it's like TV. It's not like it's you're entertaining, and everyone knows when their favorite show comes on. And
Right.
Like half the shows you go and watch, you would not be interested in if,
What about your consistency on your pricing?
Well, consistency on my pricing is always that's the same thing. I'm setting my expectations. Everyone knows what they're getting when they come into my room. Okay. They know when I'm going on. They know the pace at which I'm going to sell. They know whether I'm going to allow, I don't allow, it's funny, we're going to hit all four of my pillars. I don't allow requests.
Good.
One of my other pillars is, of the four is, running, no requests. That's, live sorting, no requests. So everyone knows it's the way it's going to be. My philosophy is built on you want your start prices to be as swipeable as possible. When I mean swipeable, I mean they're going to bid. So I do that. I make it as swipeable as possible. I do free shipping and dollar starts on the large majority of my shows. And
that's what I wanted him to key on was those dollar starts, because a lot of people are under the impression that they shouldn't do dollar starts. Our guest last week, as a matter of fact. And I was just saying that I'm doing these at $2 starts right there because I'm not established in that. So that's why I'm doing this.
And we do have someone that will purchase them from us, or we can trade them in. So.
Dollar starts is anything you do on here. This is not live selling is not what I always call the Ron Popeil style business. Like static listings are set it and forget it. There are so many elements involved that you have to be able to critique. You have to get used to. You have to hone those skills. And I always say this too. If you ever asked me 5 years ago, I've been on for 4.5 years. 5 years ago, if you said I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have told you I would have been like, not a chance. There's absolutely no way.
Right.
I'm saying that because it's nothing that just comes naturally. And that's one of the biggest problems for people. And dollar starts is the same thing. It's a psychological and mental barrier that you put up in embracing dollar starts. When I embrace dollar starts, did I lose money? The answer is yes and no. The answer is yes in comparison to what I was used to doing. But as far as the bottom dollar amount was, the answer is no. So there's a ton of people that probably don't even realize that they could succeed in utilizing dollar starts, but they have that mental blockage of, okay, but I could have made this much more over here. And to
Right.
them, that's a loss.
Right.
I
Right.
could have
Yeah.
made I could have made $20 extra over here. In their brain, they're saying I lost $20 instead of realigning their brain to understand that those dollar starts are a principle that will build on and pay dividends in the future as long as you're pointing yourself in the right direction. And for me, that was volume. And again, you heard me talk earlier about all the plethora of things that solves and that you can accomplish here on like a platform like Whatnot or live selling.
Yeah.
But right now, my experience is still Whatnot because, like I told you, when it comes to volume, those other platforms don't hit the mark.
Yeah, exactly. When you look at a successful show, and we're talking about your own, what numbers actually matter the most to you when you were looking at that?
What numbers matter the most to
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
I usually have the two numbers, lots per hour, which,
okay,
like I've been talking lately, I've been down on those because I don't know if it's the new year, just getting readjusted and things just going on. So that's one of those things that I'm really trying to make sure I stay on certain amount of lots per hours, and then of course my dollar count per hour. I want to make so much per show. So those are the two numbers. And one of the best things Whatnot ever did was put that ability. There was a day you couldn't do that. Go look at how much
yeah,
your running total was during the show, which is super helpful. Except for one little pitfall, kind of a trap that it lends you into is and it's just it's one of those barriers or one of those things. It's hard to one, recognize you're doing it, and when you do, you need to stop it. Is when you have that desire to hit that certain amount, sometimes you're selling things
yeah.
at prices and you're just doing something. You should just ended the show. I just long story short, there's situations where I probably should just ended 15 or 20 minutes earlier, but I was like, I want to get to that number, and those items I probably could have sold for more the next day, even though I
Right.
know volume and stuff kind of cleans some of that up. But um, it's still one of those things when you're talking like 10, 15 minutes, you can sell a lot, but it's not a huge factor in the overall number. If I had just ended 10 or 15 minutes early, I could have, made myself an extra $500, $1,000 because I was just trying to make that extra $200 to $400 to reach the number I was looking for at the end of, at the end of that hour. So
Oh man, we have fallen into that trap a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
everybody does. And
same,
again,
yeah,
the beauty is it doesn't hurt me as much because again, I'm a volume seller, so I get to look at it like instead of my goal of hitting X amount per, it may have brought my average per item down across the board a little bit, a little bit lower, 50 cents or a dollar, more across the board.
I'm gonna forgo a couple of questions that I have because a lot of them have been answered that you have gone, which is just it's an amazing thing. Um, this is one though that I did want to ask specific to you, and that's how do you build buyer confidence around those low starts and those fast paced auctions, which you just literally explained, but how do you build that buyer confidence that those buyers are going to be like, well, I know that I'm going to get something that I really want
How do you build buyer confidence? That's follow
around the
through.
low starts with those
Well,
fast paced auctions? Yeah.
Well, the buyer confidence comes with the fact that you're not doing what a lot of you hear other people doing. I mean, I hear people going in there and saying, "Hey, I'm going to start this at $1, but if it doesn't reach a certain level, I'm going to cancel it." That's not buyer
Yes.
confidence.
Yeah.
Buyer confidence comes with following through on your delivery, the shipping side of things, where stuff gets to the people. Buyer confidence comes in. I'll give you an example. There's multiple times. Whatnot has its own problems. If I put something up, you know how many times I've sold hundreds of dollars worth, thousands of dollars worth of items, but individual items worth hundreds of dollars that go off at $1 because Whatnot glitched out. Guess what I
Oh
do
my
with those?
gosh.
Guess what I do? I send
Oh,
them.
you sell them. Yeah, you ship
Yes,
them. I
they
know
go to the
it.
customer, and everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
once you do that for X amount of people, it's social. We're on a social platform. If you don't think word ends up spreading within your own environment when you're selling through over
Mhm.
the months and over the years, that that builds confidence in everybody else to come in and be willing to buy. And not to mention your metrics like I was talking about, but if you don't have them right out of, as high as feedback rates and stuff, if that
Yeah.
is something
Yeah.
you're concerned about, the volume selling in a dollar starts, it guarantees one, you're going to build a buyer. You're going to end up with more buyers. Okay. So if you want to
Correct.
build
Yeah.
buyer
Yeah.
confidence, the only way you're going to get buyer confidence fast and learn how to build the buyer confidence is get as many buyers you possibly can. So again, we could be here literally all day. I could talk to you about so many different levels of value to selling things for $1, and what looks like a loss to you
Mm-hmm.
is an exponential gain to you for future revenue. Just like that.
Right.
If you think about it, if somebody gets something from me for $1, are they going to come back and buy from me again, especially if the transaction was a pleasant one when it was done? I don't need you to answer. We all know the answer is absolutely
Yeah.
100%. They're coming back and they're going to, even if they don't buy, they're coming back to bid. Even if they don't
Yep.
bid or buy, they're coming back to engage in your chat and help build confidence amongst the rest of the community and other potential buyers that you have. It just goes on and on and on.
He sounded annoyed when I asked him that, and I was like, I really just wanted him to say it because, it's. I knew this. I this is one of the things because I do dollar starts on a ton of my shows. The only time that I ever don't do the dollar starts is because I'm not established in that particular category yet. And so, but I never do like $5, $3 start. I stick in at about $1 or $2 and just try to build and get that confidence up because I know that it's coming there. But I just wanted you to say it because when you say it, it gives it a lot more validity to everybody who's watching instead of this old man over here. Sounds like he's making shit up.
Well, keep in mind, let's take all this into perspective too. We are on we've been on for a long time for one. Okay. So that automatically gives us a tick in the confidence, arena. So we do have that benefit. The other thing is when we talk about consistency, but frequency is very, very important. I don't think I talk about that enough. And I'm starting to realize the frequency that you're on, meaning the more you can be on, the better it is for your business here. And again, that's because of things like TikTok brain, the effects that, so having dollar starts and building buyer confidence to create repeat buyers, you have to also provide them with the opportunity to be repeat buyers, or otherwise, I mean, you go on here, there's so many other people. And I talked about that with the free shipping. Zoe's Treasures was talking about something, and that kind of jarred my thought process into like, you know what, free shipping might work better for me because of the comparison aspects. Dollar starts might work better for me because of the comparison aspects, because I'm on so awesome. And I mean by comparison, it's because there's not as many people doing dollar starts. They're out there, but there's just not as many. Everyone would, it seems like, wants to get there, but they're scared to, commit to it.
Right.
Same thing with free shipping. But since I'm on all the time, they have the availability to take advantage of those features that I give. Now, if I was only on once a week, they could go to other shows and be comfortable because they don't have any other choice. Like, okay, I'm going to go over and be comfortable paying for shipping and paying $5 starts. But if I'm on very frequently, they don't have the opportunity or the desire to go anywhere else and pay $5 and pay shipping. But if I'm not on, then they do have that opportunity. Does that make sense? That's all comparative analysis.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, definitely.
It's and I know not everybody has the ability to come on, frequently, but that's why you hear me again with the ABS. You want to be on as frequently as you can, as long as you can, and run as many items as you can, because that's what the market demands in order to make the things that we're talking about, beneficial and successful for you if that's your desire, if that's your business model you're going for. So
when a room slows down or gets quiet, what strategies do you use to bring the energy back?
I wrote that one, not AI.
When the room gets quiet or slows down, well, first of all, one of the other things I always tell new people or even existing people looking to increase their success here, people talk about one of the first things you want to do is hire a shipper to help you.
Yeah.
I'm not even 100% in line with that. That is one of the big strategic advantages. But if you're talking monetarily, having somebody else selling with you. And that's because it prevents some of those things that you're talking about from happening in the first place, like things getting stale, the chat going quiet. When you have another person that has a rapport going on, then the people in there,
100%.
even if they are a little quiet,
Yeah.
there's something going on for them to pay attention to or be engaged with or listen or just listening to, laughing at. I mean, it happens all the time. If anybody knows my shows, me and Em, we banter like, and people are always asking if we're related. So we'll just leave it at that. Always asking if we're related in some way, shape, or form.
I
Because
actually asked if it was his wife, so I went further on that.
I was going to say she's
No.
a little, yeah. She's old enough
I
to
think
be
it was
my
Nicole, wasn't it? Nicole that I asked if it was.
daughter. That was Nicole. That was not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Nicole. You
Yeah.
asked. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I understood because Nicole's husband's name's Jeremy, and of course my name's Jeremy. So you would have heard her saying her husband Jeremy. That's not, that makes sense that you would have asked that. But no. Other things, it's hard for me to pinpoint right now because now I'm so used to it. But I'm a live sorting, I live sort. Okay. So that keeps
Mhm.
engagement in of itself. I don't let people pick because, I have everything out there. My environment is throw everything out. You see a big pile of stuff, but I still get to strategically pick the stuff out of the pile based on what I see. So, of
Right.
course, if you're seeing something that's, if it feels dull, you can grab something that you see that might perk people up. My perspective, mostly though, in order is to try to prevent from getting in those environments in the first place. If you see something's going well, you keep trying to, you hear me
Right.
say, follow the dollars. So if the dollars are
Mhm.
telling you to keep running a certain type of thing, if it's out there, you keep running it. To keep things simple, let's say I have a pile of costume jewelry and sterling silver stuff out there, and I pull up a costume piece, it does okay based on, my numbers that I know from the past, my own personal experience, or I pick up a piece of sterling and it blows it out of the water. Guess what I'm grabbing next to keep the chat active and to keep everything going?
Mhm.
I'm going to grab
Yeah.
more sterling. So it's that kind of stuff that you kind of try to continually take advantage of to prevent the lulls and the things. Or I flat out ask sometimes, I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're sleeping. Why is nobody talking? It's called chat for a reason, everybody. What's going on? And, or I'll tell them, I'm getting tired myself. Is that why you guys are falling asleep? Let's emoji up the
I don't know
chat.
if you can hear our cat. Can you hear our cat?
No, I'm good. I
She was
can't.
scratching. She was scratching at the door. I haven't. Our microphone's an all-around microphone, so I was
My cat, I'm surprised mine's not doing it too. But
so she'll be in here. Yeah, there are a lot of strategies because of you will have those types of shows, and it seems as a seller, I get super excited about a show that I'm having a lively show, a lively chat. I'm running stuff, and I see some bids coming across, but just a chat alone can help that show become, as a seller, for me to not fall into that trap of me becoming dull and quiet and slowing down and stuff. It's just I want people to know that it does happen to people's shows. It's definitely there. But if you
100%.
consistently are doing the same thing over and over again, and as Jeremy said, having another person in the room, I have Tracy in the room. She handles all of the chat. So she's like running through the chat because one, I can hardly see. I'm always wearing my glasses. And if you ever come into our shows, it's like the chat, it flies by so fast. And one of the things that you've started to talk about on your show is utilizing your visual real estate and the amount of stuff on there. And it's one of the things that I love about Whatnot is Whatnot limits the amount of chat that goes onto your real estate. Man, the district does not. That freaking chat goes right up where you're showing stuff, where you're standing stuff. It's the top of your screen. Well, I'm like, I can't see this.
To be honest with you, that's in your control. I've been in tons of rooms and Whatnot where people have large titles for their descriptions for their items.
Yeah.
They have pictures and then they do a flash sale. And next thing you know, there's no screen to see the item. It's nothing but chat.
Yeah, they're holding the stuff up way up here on the thing
it
because
doesn't even matter. Sometimes it doesn't even
Yeah.
matter. And that's one of the other dangers you got to be careful of. You got to realize most people are on phones. And if you're using like a tablet or some other screen to look, you're not going to realize that your item's in front of a bunch of chat or what's going on. You're not seeing their perspective. But yeah, the visual real estate principle is the availability on here is nice, but that's why we don't have our wings. I mean, as you know, one of the main reasons because I want that visual real estate. As soon as I slap a picture in there, and as soon as I start doing any type of longer title, forget it. My visual real estate gets reduced. We already don't have a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of real estate.
He's been talking about it on his thing, and I literally am like, okay, wow, I get that. I understand. And literally the other day, I was telling people because they were like, I was running, and I know you're going to actually get mad, but I mean, I held up a whole stack of DVDs, and not DVDs, CDs. And I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. They said, can you scan it? And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold it up, swipe across so that the whole chat goes away. Okay. And then do a screenshot. Okay. And then I'm going to put it back down, but then I'm going to run it. And it was at the end of the show. And so they were like, do you have any more CDs? I said, I do, but I've been on for a long time. My back's starting to hurt. And so I was telling them like to do that, but I literally was using your principle with the real estate and I told them, I said, you could swipe across and the whole chat goes away. Take a screenshot and then you can see everything that I have.
See what it is. So, we might want to explain to any of your listeners that have no idea what we're talking about with visual real estate, what that is. So I'll do the rundown. My theory on visual real estate is that space you have between the chat and the top of your screen. And the fact that you have all that, I mean, as you know, you have all that stuff on both sides. You have your show note cube up there. You have your title down at the bottom. You have your picture down at the bottom. You have all the functions on the side, the wallet and everything that everyone's dealing with. Your visual real estate is everything that you can get, which is when you really think about it, that's not being, not
a lot.
Covered by one of those elements is not a whole lot of space. So that's why I do everything I can to eliminate all the unnecessary things that cause that space to be reduced. So
so you're not running a lot of polls during your show, I'm guessing.
No, and polls. I don't run polls because polls don't tell you anything but what somebody thinks they're going to do. And if you know anything about me, I know that what somebody thinks and what they're actually going to do are very, very frequently different things. I will utilize polls in very minor instances, but the reason for the poll is not because I care about the answer. It's because I'm using a psychological prime to see a certain result or to test a certain theory. So
everything he does is for that. I'm going to tell you that right now. I can just tell that, and that's one of the reasons why I love this man. Okay, and wanted to have him on again. All right, I'll let you go to this one, and then I'll get to that last one there, or the one.
Which one do you want?
You do that one right there.
What's one common belief about live selling that you think actually holds sellers back?
Yeah.
Common belief that holds sellers back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the common belief, I think, is that a platform's not worth selling on unless you get what you think it's worth out of an item that holds sellers back.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own personal perspective on what it should be worth. I've heard that so much that you should sell things for what it's worth because you're worth it. And my response to that is always, I'm worth making money. So I'd rather sell 1,000 items for less than what you think it's worth because I'm worth making the money that it brings along with it. So, but I used to hear that so much from people, and I would, people get so frustrated and decide to either quit or they watch other people selling stuff that they're not seeing the dollars that they think they could get elsewhere.
You're talking about comparing it to I could hold up a brooch and I could watch a brooch, and my brooch would be the exact, say me and Jeremy were saying, Greenthirteen were selling the same brooch. His would definitely probably go for, let's just say $20, and mine would probably go for 5 to 10.
I think he's saying
I'm talking comparison. The question was what's holding people back from selling on here, right? Essentially.
I think what he's saying is like
from eBay to
the
your $20 on eBay brooch only going for 5 on whatnot.
You got to realize most people are coming over here, and that's what I was talking about earlier about the unfortunate aspects that they have to parallel for familiar purposes to keep people familiar with terminologies and styles of selling and stuff from other platforms, because that's where they're coming from. They're not coming from a live selling platform. They're coming from static platforms, and they're trying to figure out how to make them comfortable on here. That's why Whatnot wants you to do tons of buy it nows, and they're really pitching all that because that's the comfort zone. And I think that one of their strategies is to bring them over in the comfort zone and then help them move into something that's not quite as familiar, because too many people were coming in trying to get certain prices, not understanding that it's nowhere near the same thing. A new seller can go on eBay, post an item and sell it for a full top dollar in the same time somebody that's an experienced, well-established eBay seller. The likelihood of that happening is a lot higher than it is on this platform. It's also as a cat. To your point that this you were just making earlier, how one seller can sell the same brooch for 2 or 3 times what another seller can. So it's.
For me, I do look at that, but I never have ever said, or I've ever looked at that and I said, why is that? I know why it is. And that's one of the things that it's, as a seller, you have to be confident to be able to build your brand, build your audience, build your buyer confidence, if you will, so that you can get to that point. That's the only thing. And a lot of people they quit really quick after they've been on the app for a little bit, because they're like, oh, look, I'm holding up this damn book. I saw Jeremy sell it for $500. I could only get 20.
The key word you said a bunch of times was build.
Yeah.
You have to build your brand. You have to build everything. You have to build on here, and that's your comparison. What I was pointing out on eBay or Amazon, you don't have to build anything. You just post your stuff. You race to the bottom price wise. You match whatever, title that somebody else used for a product that's, sold for the most, because that means the algorithm liked it, and you can literally copy it word for word and take all the information and put your own pictures in there, or even use some of the same stock, and off you go. You don't have to build anything. You understand what I'm saying? So is holding all that is holding tons of people, and they come over here and they don't even understand that. They come over here trying to bring those what seems to be those principles to a process that you have to build. That's Ron Popeil. This is not. That set it and forget it. This is, you have to be here day in, day out, as much as you possibly can, and put tons and tons of resources in, especially up front, if you want to eventually succeed it in the end. So
we got 2 cats in here now.
That's all right. I was worried I was going to be the one dealing with cats, not you guys.
No worries. We've dealt with cats, children, and dogs on these, not on our end, but on some of the others. Well, piggybacking on what you just said, with a demanding live schedule, especially the one that you have, how do you protect yourself from burnout?
To be 100% honest, I didn't. I actually had a pretty rough period of time as a result of burnout, like pretty bad. And the problem with burnout is you don't know it till it's already too late. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced burnout, but the main thing to prevent it is obviously recognizing that it happened, and then do things and put stuff into place. I also have, a very supportive wife that keeps me in check, especially after, like, you'll be able to see things in hindsight. It's just kind of like, hey, You need some time for yourself. I don't do as much as I should, but she also, is a very, very, in tune with when, it's time, you need to take a break. She's gone as far as scheduling, weekend vacays for myself to just go and get away. Not even for both, just like, hey, you need some time. It's so, so it's not just me. I luckily have a wonderful support people that support me in trying to keep me from that happening. Her mainly, and then I, as a result of me going through a pretty rough time as far as burnout goes, you then know what to look for. You know the signs, because my burnout from being on here was not the same as burnout that I've experienced in the past for other reasons. Let's just be honest and break it down. I'm a workaholic. Luckily, when I met my wife, I told her that I didn't disguise, like this is big. This is a big part of my life. This is what I do. I'm passionate about it. I work a ton, and I do a lot of it for fun. But then obviously you have these situations of burnout, and this situation of burnout was different than once before, because the mental gymnastics you have to go through on to be successful on here, you don't even realize until it already happens to you. Like I said, it's hindsight. But the big thing is listen to your body. And then if you do get burnout, pay attention to what your body was telling you that you maybe weren't listening to previously. So now when it starts happening, I can catch it early. I can tell, okay, it's time for me to walk away. It's time for me to take a break. Sometimes you don't realize you will now, but there's times during the show where I'll literally stop and I'll turn the camera around and I'll just talk to somebody about something. That's a moment I'm taking to just like, I'm getting even burnt out. I need to take like a few seconds for myself, and that might just be something that doesn't involve selling. It's just engaging with someone or just having a short little bit of fun time, and then like, all right, let's get back to selling, turn around. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things I was going to say earlier that's really helpful, but it was a huge contributor to my burnout, was when I decided I'm going to go full on super, like, I didn't pay attention to chat. I just sat in front of that screen and sold and sold. And so I did that for months for a while. I wanted to kind of test like what would happen if I'm just sitting down, and I avoided any real interaction. I wanted to see what would happen. It did great. Numbers were great in the room. Dollar, profit and stuff was great from a volume perspective, but it took a toll on me. I mean, it was just too much. Because it's just fully engaged, nonstop, it's kind of like running things sudden death, but not quite the same when you're doing live sorting and trying to sell at the same time and do all the different things that are required to be, successful in the manner in which that I am. So
that was amazing. I appreciate you sharing that one a lot, because a lot of people they think that a lot of people think it's just me. That's just me. Literally, we went through a burnout period right in the middle of the holidays.
We did,
because for us, Christmas, when it came, it was like, holy crap! Christmas is like in 4 days. We had nothing. We didn't buy anything for each other at all yet. We hadn't gone Christmas shopping yet. We hadn't done anything. Nothing was set up. Nothing was wrapped. Nothing. And I said, 4 days left. I said, this is bad. We need to take a break. We need to stop. We need to relax. We need to start taking some time for ourselves. And I literally thought it was just us. I thought, damn, man, I there are some times I sat there. We've had times, and literally it's right after one of our most successful shows that we've ever done. That was a solo show, not one of my successful ones when I was part of a big ray train, but one of the most successful ones that we did. We were packing that show up, and Tracy looked at me and said, we got to stop, with almost tears in her eyes, because it is just me and her. So we're doing all of our shipping, and it's like, we're just getting too big. And I had to sit there and go, what? No. We want to get bigger. Then the very next day, and I'm not lying, the very next day we did a show on the district. Again, the same thing. It was a very successful show. And this time I turned around to her and I said, man, I can't keep doing this. And so it's really, you got to think about that. I had burnout as a teacher, bad, really
Yeah.
bad. And finally, I had to quit because of a lot of the stuff that was going on. It literally will affect your health. As I was saying, you heard me say it, that I can't go for like a full hour because my back will start hurting. Well, now I know I need to get healthier. So
Yep, that's
that
what we're
was
working
great.
on.
All right, one last question before we start getting into our what's up part.
If someone is on the fence about going live for the first time, what advice would you give them before they press the button?
Press the button and enjoy the delightful disaster that is about to ensue. Listen, the best way to learn is to get in and do it. The time to make the mistakes, the time to learn from your mistakes. You hear me say this, failing forward is a big part of my philosophy. Or failure is the shortest path to success. The best way you're going to learn is making the mistakes. Trying to go, it's funny I say this, I have this chat show on there and you guys do this and we're all trying to help everybody. But the best help you're going to get is from the mistakes you make. So you're going to learn way more how to deal with shipping when you make the mistakes. And then because one, you're going to learn different things you didn't know by trying to fix the mistake. That's going to be helpful later. And you're going to remember to never do that again, or that it's never, it's going to happen very, very infrequently.
Happened yesterday.
What's that?
It literally happened yesterday.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. If you're hesitant to push the button, you just get in and do it. And it's one of those things where the more you try to prepare, the less you're going to be prepared. I know you've heard that saying before, but it's true. The more you try to, you're just going to psych yourself out when you're trying to gather too much information. No matter how much information you gather, you're going to gather more that's not useful or going to do you no good or be like not even applicable to what you're going to do. Once you go live, you're still going to have mistakes. So going in live, understanding that that's going to happen, I promise that will cause people to not have as many problems. It sounds kind of, but you're not going to get as nervous. You're not going to be as jittery if you just accept the fact that they're coming.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Great advice.
This is our
that's you.
What's up section.
Yeah, it's you. It's green.
Okay. This is our What's Up section where we talk about what's going on in the reselling community.
Yep.
This week we're kind of highlighting how sellers are realizing that building your brand matters just as much as showing up consistently. Launching a podcast can be a game changer. It lets you share your story, drop tips, connect with your audience, and grow your name. For new sellers, it's a front row seat to expert advice. And for seasoned sellers, it's a platform to showcase your brand, sell merch, and expand your reach.
So I've heard through the grapevine, I have heard that you are planning on doing a live podcast on YouTube on reselling, on whatnot. Can you share some of the details of that podcast?
I can, I guess, because I think you know probably about as much as I do at this particular point in time. So there's going to be people have been asking for me to give you a little bit of backstory on this. People have been wanting me, you included, I believe, wanting me to, or been looking forward to a YouTube format style, especially since Whatnot stopped
4 straight weeks in a row on Sunday. I asked him, "You on YouTube yet?" And he said, "Oh, it's coming on YouTube yet. Yeah, it's coming on YouTube yet."
Yeah, but I think one of those weeks is finally, if it's going to happen, who knows when, because I finally realized I wasn't going to have the time.
Yeah.
So, the main thing that the YouTube was because Whatnot stopped allowing people to go back and watch the old videos, and people are always asking.
Right.
I don't feel comfortable about charging people to watch my information. So I was like, you know what? Hopefully I can do this sometime. The opportunity came about, and I decided it's time. I shouldn't say it kind of ended up being a group effort. Here is what's happening. So there's me. There's I use their Zoe's Treasures, okay,
Mhm.
and then I Love Discount. So there's Green13, which is going to be me. Zoe's Treasures is Noel, Tracy, and then I Love Discounts is Lysandra and oh crap, his name just left my brain.
Tony.
That's terrible, Tony. That's it.
Yeah.
And we are getting together to do a YouTube podcast. It's going to be called Reselling Roundtable.
Mhm.
And everyone can go check it out. We're going to be having our first episode very shortly. And then
I'll have a link down below also so you guys can check it out when they do start going live.
That's awesome. Appreciate it.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
But I'm doing that. All of us luckily have different reasons why we're doing it, but I'm doing it because people keep asking for the information. I like talking, coupled with the fact that I want to monetize that time frame, and I do this out of enjoyment, and I don't want to monetize. I'm trying to keep my enjoyment aspects and my money and my business aspects separate. So this will allow me to do that. Going over to YouTube with more people's opinions at different stages in the whatnot experience and live selling experience, talking amongst themselves on any specific topic, I think is going to be more useful for the viewers and the people that are interested in hearing what we have to say, me and them included, because we all have chat shows on whatnot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's really the
It'll be a live format.
Yes, we're gonna be doing the live format, and they the other thing we're talking about burnout. Let's go back to that. The other reason is sometimes you need a break, and I told you consistency is really key. I hire people, but my chat shows I can't put somebody in there, and the show must go on in order for it to be, So this will allow us with multiple people involved. I'm going to be able to, and anybody else will be able to be like, all right, I have something going on that Sunday. I can't make it. And there'll be plenty of people in order to accomplish, fulfilling the need for people to, have this information, or I shouldn't say the need, the want that they have for the people that care to watch it.
That is awesome.
That's
I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
I really am.
And just like everything else that I get involved with, and it's we're building the airplane as it takes off. I mean, we people kept asking, and none of us really knew. We had our first discussion about how we wanted to look, and started putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So it should be in a couple short weeks. We'll have the first live podcast, and it will, like you said, it'll be live, and then there'll be some stuff that they're really interested in putting together some information that pertains to very common topics like shipping. You know me, I don't like talking shipping.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention every single chat show, if you let it happen, would turn into a shipping show. Like every single one. It's just so everybody else had great ideas of putting some eventually having some just videos there for people that we can direct everybody to go watch for those common questions, shipping being one of the largest. So
yeah, I love it. I think it's great, and welcome to the community on YouTube. As I said, soon to be an influencer. I can practically see it, call it already and stuff. And like I said, when he does updates, I will put updates in the show notes here in the thing, because this is coming out on Sunday, and he's talking about the following Sunday. So if I get any that information, I will change it and I will put it on here so that you guys can get in there to check that one out.
Yeah.
So check out Reselling Roundtable, or is it Roundtable Reselling? I think it's
Reselling Roundtable.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
This is our Shine the Light segment, where we shine the light on 3 sellers at 3 different levels. This week, they are all on Whatnot.
They are.
First is our up-and-coming seller. Her name is Amanda. She goes by A Dose of Thrift on Whatnot. She's a Whatnot seller with 419 sales and 6.4 thousand followers. She sells mostly in women's clothing and in vintage clothing. She's a part-time seller who wants to ramp up her reselling on Whatnot. what is the best piece of advice you'd give to someone who's working to get to that 1K sales number? And do you feel that's even important?
I don't think it's important. My advice to anybody that's selling is build your foundation, and your foundation shouldn't require to be monetized immediately. I mean, what's a few days of mailing in order to get the money? First of all,
Right.
if you need it that bad, you're already starting off on a shaky foundation. So let's look at it from that perspective.
There you go. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I like that.
Secondly, foundationally speaking, again, if you're trying to reach a goal that's going to cause you to do things that aren't going to be a regular part of your business model, you're already starting off on a different foundation of what you really want to build. Again, you're not building your foundation. Your buyer expectation, your brand loyalty all comes from consistency. We were already talking about that earlier. And if you make exceptions to those in order to reach these goals, that like 1,000, X amount of followers, or you're trying to reach your 1,000 items sold and stuff, you're not running your business in the standard way you're going to, had that not been something you had to deal with in the first place. So act like it's nothing you need to get to. Same thing with the wings, all that stuff. Run your business the way you want to run your business, and the people that like the way you do it are going to be there for it. But if you start off not being the way you intend on being in order to reach these hypothetical, things that people think make you successful on here, like reaching your 1,000, having so many, running so many giveaways or getting so many followers, so on and so forth, you're building a very shaky foundation. You're going to be essentially restarting all over again constantly. And I'll give you an example of that. That $1,000 goal, a lot of people try to do it by giving away stickers, and not giving away, but selling stickers and stuff like that. Is that really what you want your business to be? A bunch of sticker sales? The answer is no. If you're doing that just to get to that point, you're not doing it foundation. So you're basically restarting again. Now you have to train people that want to buy stickers to buy something else. And then you're going to go, why am I not selling anything? Well, it's because you stopped selling stickers and started selling what you wanted to in the first place.
I'm telling you right now, that makes a total sense. And that is completely opposite of what I have heard and have actually felt from other people. But what you just said makes complete sense. You build that foundation.
So
when we hit 1,000 sales, we had no idea. We didn't even know we hit it.
We didn't pay attention.
Attention to it at all. But we're talking, we've only been on for 3.5 years. 3.5 years. But it was still, it was like, oh, we hit 1,000 sales. I didn't even know.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the way you should be. You shouldn't be worried about that. You should that 1,000 sales is put into place to help build the buyer comfort level that we were talking about earlier, for someone to be comfortable with you as a seller and trust you as a seller. That's what that's there for, to make sure that you're completing transactions in the appropriate manner. And when you try to get around that by doing other things or loophole your way around it, again, it's that you're basically not building what you really want to own in the end as far as the business goes. And I call it I say you either own a business or a job, one of the two. Either one's fine. But either way, you're taking ownership, and you still want it to be, on sound foundation. And doing all that crazy stuff in order to try to get to something for unknown reasons. Like, really, like, why, okay, great, you get instant payout, but did you really need it? And like I said, if you need it to be successful, you might want to reevaluate where you're at in the reselling world in the first place.
Well, I absolutely love that right there. That you just literally changed my whole level of thinking about if anybody ever asked me about that. All right, our next level seller, someone very familiar to Jeremy. It is Tracy and Noel, Zoe's Treasures. They are a husband and wife team who sell and whatnot with 7.5 thousand sales and 7.7 thousand followers. They sell in vintage decor and sterling silver. We talked about that earlier. One is a CPA. Which one's a CPA? Is it Noel or Tracy?
Tracy.
Okay, Tracy.
Tracy's the tax Yeah, the one you go to for tax information. I think she does shows on that, from my understanding.
I was about to just mention that they do a community chat show, which is scheduled for Friday mornings. They have regularly scheduled shows literally in their profile, guys. So if you ever wanted to know anything about them, you can go right in there. And then my question for you on this one is what advice would you give to have a seller using an expertise and have used that to help build and grow an audience?
You might have to rephrase that quick. Could you say that again? I'm trying to process that question.
What advice do you have for a seller on using their expertise and shows to build trust and grow an audience?
Are you talking about like how she utilizes her accounting background?
CPA, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of answers itself. I don't. It's one of those things where you'd have to sit down and kind of evaluate what your potential expertise would be to apply, and then figure out a entertaining and or strategic way to provide it. She obviously, from the little bit that I've seen her utilizing her skills as an accountant, which is something lots of people with certain mindsets really want to know about, will without a doubt develop a comfort for those people to come to her shows and buy, right? Like, I mean, it just goes. So, me, I mean, I guess I could parallel kind of like, I've owned my own business for, quite a few years. I was, reading stuff about business when I was in high school, as opposed to comic books, things like that. So I'm guessing when I come on and talk about that, that's where some people find comfort in coming to my regular sales shows then and buying stuff from me. So I would say, if you're not doing a community show and you're applying it into your regular show, just try to figure out a creative way to do that. Like, I'll give you an example, not that anybody cared, but the other day we were talking, I took an opportunity to connect with people, because I know some people, but not everybody, but I figured everyone would still find it somewhat interesting. We found this really old bond paper. It was a bond with all the little coupons on it. So I asked anybody if they want an education, why, when you hear a bond the interest rate that you earn on a bond is referred to as a coupon. And I explained why that was. It's because you literally had a coupon that you rip off and take in to collect your interest. And then I explained to people, you're going to hear, whether you like it or not, jokingly, why stocks are called stocks. And I explained to people that it was a block of wood that at one time you would get, and they would write the stock value on it, and then down at the bottom they would split the one end in two, and you would break the one end off so it looked like a stock, if you can envision that, like a gun stock. So when you went in to redeem your stock, because they physically broke it off, the only piece that would match to guarantee that you were the rightful owner to that stock was that they would line it up with that. Hence the term stock then, because that looked like a stock. So that's me using my knowledge to, as you're asking, to connect with people, to make them feel comfortable, and like, okay, whether that had anything to do with the fact that I was selling jewelry, or actually it was just Mini Monday, but I took the opportunity to connect based on my knowledge and my expertise, if that's what you want to call it. So, and I'm sure she does that throughout the show all the time with her tax information.
All right.
Our established seller this week is Ken, also known as the Gumby Man. He's a seller on Whatnot with 13.5 thousand sales and 16.6 thousand followers. He has a ton of shows and is a conductor on many unique raid trains like Climb the Ladder and Dollar Smackdown. He is expanding on all social media. He is one of the original old guys. His shows are fun and he has some amazing deals. What do you think being a raid train conductor will help build a loyal community and growing your sales over time on Whatnot?
I'm telling you right now, I am not changing these questions to AI anymore. I'm going with mine. All right, because I
would
tell you
a question about AI. And
No,
I
I
about raid trains.
yes.
Or did what I meant to say is,
Let
did you just have AI ask me a question about raid
No,
trains?
I will let you know. What I asked is I told AI the question that I originally wrote down is what do you think about people that are raid train conductors? Do they think that that's helped building their business? And because I know it helps build a community, but does it help build their business? And I told AI, I said, make this punchier, so that it was a little bit more interesting, because I think my questions are boring as hell. And that's what it gave me. And I said, okay, that's it. That experiment is done.
Mhm.
Okay. That experiment is done. But the question, and I know how you feel about ray train. I do
Yes,
know that,
but
you know.
you're asking me a kind of a different question here. You're asking me about
Yeah.
raid train conductors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
do you
asking
think it
about ray
helps
train
them build
conductors.
their
Does it help
business?
them?
I think there's a possibility that it can for certain people if it's
Mhm.
leveraged. I could envision and not envision. I'm sure there's people out there that have put together large, successful raid train or competition type shows that would equate to me basically being a raid train where you have to be, at somewhere at a given time for a given point. You just raid in the other person. Even if it's a competition, to me, that's still a raid train
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that stuff. If you're the conductor of it and it's something successful and you're seen as the lead point person on that, it's going to build, like we talked about, trust in like success. Like people trust somebody that's successful in something, and you could
Mhm.
be perceived as being very successful if the raid trains are successful. So could that be leveraged? I think 100%. And
Yeah.
that's completely different than being on a raid train.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like somebody that
I do
you,
one. That's it.
what's that?
You know.
You do
We
one.
do
Yeah.
one raid train a year, and you know about that one.
Yeah.
Ours
But
is for charity mainly
yeah.
on Veterans Day because of me being a veteran.
Yeah. And then if there's someone that figures out how to find some other creative way to monetize having raid trains as a business model or something,
Mhm.
what that would be, I have no idea. It because I've never really spent any time thinking about it. It's not anything that I have any interest or curiosity to get involved as a conductor or um, involved in selling in a raid train. I mean, we've done it before in the past,
Mhm.
but I think that's a different topic. Like if somebody, I think there'd be a balance for you to make money on whatnot, utilizing being a conductor of a raid train. That you have to find the balance. Like I'm going to do so many of these. If I
Mhm.
find a successful one, find the right pace and the quantity of them that I should be doing, that then can be leveraged over into my standard business model where I sell stuff. Not to mention on the raid train, usually the conductors get to sell too, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
they're
Yeah.
making money during that process. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And you talked to me about one time the raid train trap and you've said this a lot, is that when people come to a raid train and they're raiding in from one to another to another to another, they're not there for you. They're there for the raid train.
they're there for
And
the event.
the
Yep.
event. And so it's you don't want to get trapped into that. We did, and we have scaled that back a lot to doing pretty much what you just said. Can I leverage this to help our business and our business model?
Well,
We're going to have links down below to all of these amazing sellers. That would be Zoe's Treasures, the Gumby Man, and a Dose of Thrift, along with Jeremy of Greenthirteen. It is now time for us to turn the tables. This is where you allow our guest to turn the tables on us. And the last time he did put me in deer in the headlights. So he's been challenged now to try to do that one again. And this time I'm prepared.
what I don't even what where I ask you a question.
Yes, turn the
Was that what it
tables.
was?
Yeah.
What did I ask you last time? I don't even remember. What was it?
You asked me what my business plan was, and you cannot ask that again.
I can't ask. Well, yeah, you just said you're prepared this time. You should be prepared for that question. I got to make sure I didn't ask you what your business plan is.
You did ask me that because we had been talking a little bit of background on this, and I know this is going long. A little background on this. In about a year a year ago in, I want to say October, Jeremy was on one of his random rambling shows, and I asked him if he would come into one of my shows and critique it. And when I asked it in his chat, he said, well, I don't know if anybody wants me to do that. And his chat blew the hell up. Okay. I mean, he had everybody in there going, man, I want to do that. Could you do it for me? Could you do it for me? Could you do it to me? And then Jeremy said, well, yeah, I'll do it, but I got to do it with Jack's Treasures first, because he did ask me to do it first. And so then after that, I tried to do what every good teacher does when a principal walks into the classroom and they're getting evaluated. I tried to put on the best damn ass shows, because I knew he was coming in incognito. In other words, I would not know that he was in the room. Well, the next week I come into the show and I'm expecting to hear this scathing review, because I knew I messed up all over the place. And it was basically, I hadn't got a chance to see and get into your shows yet, but I watched one of them, and he did give me a critique about never saying anything about apologizing about shipping. That's how much I remember all of these things that you say, by the way.
And the long story about the dead cat.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you told me about that too. You go, when you get a new seller, don't give the long story about that. You're using up all your stuff. And I'm like, okay, I got to stop doing all this. So the next week that goes by, I was like, well, did you come in? And he said, no, I've been too busy and everything like that. And then he tells me he's had like 6 people DM him asking him to do it too. And he couldn't get it in. He had me co-host on a rambling show. And it was one of the highlights of my year. And then he basically came out and he said, I just can't do it. I got so much stuff going on. I apologize, but I do apologize, but what? And then he asked me on his show, what do you want to do? And I had no clue how to answer it. None. And I said, oh crap, I better come up with something fast. So I came up with something really, really fast. And then he did the same thing to me on the podcast when I turned the tables, because Tracy was sick the first time that we recorded. And he said the same thing to me again. And I was, all of a sudden my eyes got really big. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot what I said last time. So I made a long story long.
I get to ask you any question.
Yes. Yep. And it could be anything. We have actually had financial questions about our retirement. We've had questions about my Navy time and all that kind of stuff.
I want to know. You don't have to give. You can tell me how, in any way, shape, or form you want.
Okay.
How much, or just how much did your business improve this year in comparison to the previous year, as in 2025 in comparison to 2024 on Whatnot?
On Whatnot. All right. I love it.
Or let's do this. Live selling. All
right. You want to work on this one with me?
You can do numbers. Okay. You can tell me how it improved in whatever manner.
Well, we had a very unique opportunity when we got into Whatnot. Before we got into Whatnot, both of us had done static listing over on eBay, and we were very, very successful on that, making a living. I was a teacher. I taught for 18 years until burnout finally told me, you need to stop. And when I stopped, I was making a certain amount of money during the live teaching, and I went straight into full-time reselling. Tracy was already doing it, I would say about 90%. She did have a job where she was a writer and did some writing for people. Mm-hmm. So we started to do that, and we built eBay up to a point, and I'm just going to use rounded out numbers to make this comparison look good or make it make sense. Let's just say that we were making $10,000 a month on eBay. Mm-hmm. When Whatnot came around, we played around with Whatnot. So our eBay stayed at that $10,000 mark, and we were making about $1,000 on Whatnot. Well, in 2024, we decided we were going to ramp it up because we met Paul the Philly Flipper. I started to pay attention to your shows. I started to pay attention to all of these other big sellers, and I just started to grow this business. We were going steady at about $2,000, but we weren't putting anything into it more. Well, then when we started to put everything into it more, eBay, which was up here at 10, eBay dropped to about 3, and Whatnot went to about 6. Now you can already start seeing that we were at 10 and 2 or 10 and 1, so we were at 11, but now we're at 9. But this was one of those things where we built it and built it and built it, but as we were building Whatnot was going up to probably, let's just say, for instance, it went up to 8, but eBay went down to nothing. Okay. So we reevaluated again, and we said, okay, it was great for us because it built me up to a point right now where instead of Whatnot being 1,000, let's just say Whatnot right now is 4,000 or 3,000, but eBay is back up to 8,000. So we're seeing growth continue that was phenomenal in 2025 compared to 2024 because we put a ton of effort into it to build it up to be that.
We're trying to find that even.
But we want to find that point where I can make back what we were making on eBay before, because we were very comfortable.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
I have to ask you a follow-up question based on the numbers you're giving me. How long did it take you on eBay to get to the point where you were at the 10?
What would you say?
Well,
his numbers were number one wrong.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
he knows that.
Your hypothetical 10, whatever that truly was in real numbers.
Well,
how long did it take you on eBay to get to that?
I've been reselling for 30 years, but it's been up, down, depending on whether I was full-time or part-time at that time. So it's definitely not been a...
So I guess it would be, all right, I retired from teaching, 8 years ago?
In 17.
No, so 2017 is when I retired from teaching, and we built eBay up probably within about 2 years to that number.
Our best year on eBay was 2023.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So you took an already foundationally established eBay system, and in 2 years, build it to your high water mark you were talking about. Your hypothetical 10. How long have you been on what?
The hypothetical numbers, yeah.
And I think I can have it back there in about 6 months again.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long?
Because she's doing most of that.
What your hypothetical high on Whatnot was what?
I would probably say hypothetically about 3.
No.
Oh,
compared to our eBay, it was probably about an 8.
So eBay about an 8 on compared to eBay.
But I don't think
before it was.
I don't think we could maintain most months just based on our inventory sources.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can source for eBay a lot easier than I can for Whatnot.
Okay. The only reason I'm asking is because your timelines tell me that you still have more potential on Whatnot than you do on eBay if the resources were allocated that way.
Oh yeah, we are doing that. We are doing that. But what we did was, and remember, we were telling you that before we hit the record button, I was saying that one of our biggest goals right now is to pay down all of that debt that we incurred because we took eBay down to nothing, and Whatnot wasn't able to replace the eBay number. And so with us building it, for me, I look at it all of it as a it's how we got to build. We still do on Whatnot, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm still almost 100% full time on Whatnot. Yeah. And I do probably maybe, I don't know, I would probably say 5%, less than 5% of my time goes to eBay. Tracy's is about probably 80% on eBay and about 20% on Whatnot. But what happens is that we are now finding that mix where we're going to hit the sweet spot on both of the platforms so that we can get that number to be hypothetically 20, to whereas like, okay, let's say eBay's at 12 and Whatnot's at 8, or Whatnot goes up to 10 and eBay goes up to 10, and then they just can keep growing that way. It's one of the things where we took a big hit, but we did it on purpose to build. And now it's, let's continue to grow. And that's one of the goals that we do have for this year, is to get rid of our debt and to grow more on both of the platforms, mainly on Whatnot, is to continue to grow on Whatnot. Where our sales numbers.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could probably talk to you and ask you a bunch of questions about that strategy, but that would take up way too much time. And I know we're here. We're here at the end.
This is officially our longest episode by quite a bit.
So,
all right. I want to give a huge thanks to our amazing guest, Jeremy from Greenthirteen, for joining us for the second time. Up next, we're going to be chatting it up with Mike of Mike Metco's Meetups. He's host of Mike Metco's Meetups on YouTube, along with his co-host, Mary McQuain. We're going to dive into the reselling community, share some stories, and explore what it takes to thrive on YouTube. So next week's episode is probably going to not be that much about Whatnot, but we'll still have the same ideas. So Jeremy, thank you again so much for being here. We do have one final question for you. Tracy, take it away.
What can viewers expect next from Greenthirteen? Any upcoming special shows or goals?
Yes, the two that I can share with you is the show that I'm going to be doing, which is one of the reasons why we have to do the podcast, because it's going to require my Sunday time frame, and that's the Pick It to Win It show.
Oh, wow.
That we're going to do. And then the other one is Source to Sell. Source to Sell is a situation where we'll be selling when the weather permits. We'll be going to a live auction. We started Blue 14, which is another thing that would take a while, but we'll be utilizing a dual stream where you'll be able to watch with no sound us buy at an auction and take the items right outside and sell it to you guys live.
Oh,
and then the other thing will be Pick It to Win It, where we're going to be putting together teams, and we'll be going on site to markets, and the teams will go out and buy, come back, sell, go out and buy, come back and sell. And of course, there'll be a winner, and that'll be a whole series where they will be winning prizes at the end of it. And we'll have some guests come on throughout the process.
That sounds awesome. I'm telling you right now, we got to get up to Pennsylvania. I told Jeremy we're not going to be doing any traveling this year, but now I might have to throw in a Pennsylvania trip.
So I'm going from volume, and experimentation is bringing some more of what I see coming down the pike. I went super volume, still going to be volume, but you still have to throw in the fun entertainment attributes, which was Pick This Old House. Wasn't super fast, but gave us a springboard. We have fallen off the map, so to speak, in comparison to what I like to be with the entertainment value. And that's what those two initially are going to start putting in place, is more of that entertainment value.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. Help us out with Stop Soldier Suicide and the Naughty Cat Cafe. There are links down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And guys, no matter what, please make sure you follow your dreams. And as Jeremy said, if you're on the fence about doing anything on Whatnot, press that start button and go ahead and enjoy the what do you call that?
The chaos.
The magnificent disaster.
Delightful disaster.
The delightful disaster right there, guys. Peace out from Jack's Treasures and Jeremy at Greenthirteen.